Hi there folks, welcome to Dunsy's Guitar World. Welcome to another quick midweek guitar lesson. This time is for the title track from a monster album, a huge moment in heavy metal. So the parts we're going to learn today in this lesson are the main verse part, the rather tricky bridge part, and the chorus part. Now I'm sure I don't need to tell you what that is, but just in case I do, it is from the album Borrowed Time by Diamond Head. What an album, what an album. Now this is a long track, according to Spotify, 7 minutes and 39 seconds. As per most Diamond Head stuff, Mr BRIAN TATLER, the guitar legend, has put a ton of riffs in this. There's a lot of riffage in this song, so I've decided to split it up, the lesson, into two parts. The first stuff I'm showing you here will take you up to about 3.5 minutes. Now, as per all my lessons and covers, this is no claim that this is what Mr BRIAN TATLER plays on this. I can't play like BRIAN TATLER. This is simply how I hear the song and how I would play it. Somebody phoned me up and says, Dunsy, we need you to come along. We're doing a gig tomorrow and we're doing Borrowed Time by Diamond Head. Could you come along and just play the riffs, play the rhythm guitar? Because I can't play the solo either. So that's what this lesson is. This lesson is my interpretation of the first half of Borrowed Time by Diamond Head. As ever folks, it's a privilege and a pleasure bringing you content on Dunsy's Guitar World. Just for now. So the main riff in the song, and the intro as well, is really just two open strings and one chord shape. So the open strings are just the open E, 1, 2, 3, and the open A. So it's just those two strings, a bit of dampening once you hit the third measure. And the chord shape we're using is just a D chord shape, just your normal D chord. But this time, for the first one, we're moving it up. Oh, my camera's unfocused. A bit like me, my camera's unfocused. We're moving up to the 7th fret. So it's E, and then that chord. Just strum across those 4 strings. And then we move to the A. And this time we move the D shape down 2 frets to the 5th fret. Try and catch that top string like I didn't do there. So that's really the two chord shapes we're using, or the two parts we're playing, the E and then that, and then the A and then that. So I'll play it very slowly. This is just the basic part before we add the embellishments. That's the basic part. Now what we do is, what it sounds like Brian's doing, is the first one, when we hit that D chord, the D shape up here, once we've hit it, we come back down the strings. So we're coming back down first, second, third string, just on that chord shape. Same on when we move to the A. Actually, there's a part at the very beginning, the guitar intro, where it sounds like he's doing like a suspension when he moves to the second part. Which I guess, like if you're playing a D chord, it's that, you're putting your pinky just on the fret in front on the first string. So it's that. So the intro, it's quite funny timing as well, so you know, I would learn the main verse part first before we tackle the intro, but it is the same chords, just slightly different timing. that's the main verse part. I will play it slowly and then I'll change the angle of the camera. And that's the main verse part. Then we go on to the next part, which is slightly trickier. Really what we're doing here is the two notes that we're playing all the time in these measures are the G, the 3rd fret of the bottom string, and then the open string. And we're going between them and a note on the 5th string, if that makes sense. So I'll go through it very slowly because I think it's harder to explain than it is to play. So we start with the B, the 2nd fret of the A string, and then down to the 3rd fret of the E, and then the open E, and we do that. So that's what we're doing. And then on the 3rd one, we don't go back to the E, we go from the B, 2nd fret, to the G, and then we move the note on the 4th string up one to a C. So I'll play that very slowly. Again, so we're coming from the 3rd fret this time of the A string to the G, 3rd fret of the E, to the open E, and then we're moving that note on the A string up every time, but we're always going back to play the G and the E, apart from the 3rd measure where we miss out the E. It makes more sense when you're playing it. So the notes we're going up on the A string are the 2nd fret, the B, the 3rd fret, C, and the 4th fret, C sharp, and then we're going up to a D the last time, the 5th fret, coming back to the G and the E. So I will play this very slowly and then I'll try and emphasise where we're sticking on the A string note and moving up to the next one. So I'll do it slowly and then I'll change the camera angle, so hopefully it makes sense. And that's all quite heavily palm muted as well on this hand. So I'll zoom my camera in and I'll try and catch what I'm doing with my playing fingers and also with my picking hand as well. So I hope I explained that part clearly. I was maybe playing a little bit fast. It's funny, this is one of these things where muscle memory takes over and it's easier to play fast once you've learned it. So you maybe need to slow the video down to maybe 75% to catch that, but I'll do it once more, and I'm emphasising when I'm changing the note on the A string. End on the E and into the chorus. Now the chorus to me just sounds like Brian's playing single notes. It's like, so he's coming from the open E and then catching the same note an octave higher on the 7th fret of the A string and give that a bit of a tug, as they say. Maybe even slide in to the open A string, to the F, which is on the 8th fret of the A string, and then 2 hits on the open A again. So we'll play what we've got so far. F again, to D, 5th fret of the A string, to the G on the 5th fret of the D string, and then over to the G an octave lower on the 3rd fret of the E string. So I'll play that slowly. I'll go over that bit in a minute. I'll change the camera angle so you can see the chorus. Back into the verse again. So that bit at the end there, which will come into play when I'm doing part 2 of this lesson, this features quite a lot in the second part. The second part of this song is a lot trickier than the first part. So that part, I'll play it slowly and then I'll explain it. So it's open E string, 1st fret of the E string, 3rd fret of the E string. Next bit is quite tricky. We're going to the 3rd fret of the A, to the 2nd fret of the A, back to the 3rd fret of the E, the G note, and back into the verse. So I'll play that slowly and I'll also change the camera angle as well. Focus on my picking hand. And a close-up as well. So it's open E, 1st fret of the E, 3rd fret of the E, over to the 3rd fret of the A, which is quite tricky because you're going from 3 in there to 3 on there. So 3rd fret of the A to the 2nd fret of the A to the 3rd fret of the G, and end on an open E again before we go back into the verse. So very slowly, goes like this. And one last time, just for luck.